Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. Now in our today's discussion, we'll be understanding the elevation of Pakistani Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir to the rank of Field Marshal. So in our today's discussion, we'll try to cover what is Field Marshal, where is Field Marshal placed in the hierarchy of militaries, and how or what are the famous instances of Indian Field Marshals like General Sam Manekshaw. Now let us understand or start our today's discussion by knowing the context. First, what you need to understand that Pakistani government yesterday, that is on May the 20th, it announced that its Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir has been successfully promoted or elevated to the rank of Field Marshal. Now, this announcement of his promotion was made by the Presidential Cabinet of the Pakistani government for successfully leading the armed forces of Pakistan against their conflict with India. So essentially, it means that General Asim Munir has been rewarded for his beating that he got from Indian armed forces. Now, everything aside, let us bring back to our today's discussion. Now, he will be the second person in the history of Pakistan to hold this rank of Field Marshal. Earlier Field Marshal was the Ayub Khan, who was the military dictator of Pakistan between 1950s and 60s, right? So this is the context of our today's discussion. Now in this regard, let us begin our today's discussion by understanding what is the rank of Field Marshal. Now you understand both India and Pakistani military, they are modeled very closely to the British Army's systems of rank and privileges, because these armed forces, they originated during the British era and they closely mirror the models, ranks and privileges of British Army. Now Field Marshal in India and Pakistani Army, both they are a 5-star rank officer and they are the highest rank officers in the respective military, even above the Chief of Army Staff, which is the general of a particular service. Now in India and in Pakistan, the generals are having 4-star distinction, right? So therefore, in seniority, the 5-star officer rank that is given to the Field Marshal, they are a level above the generals, right? Now in India, what you need to understand that the Field Marshal rank, it is equivalent to the rank of Admiral of the Fleet in Indian Navy and the Marshal of Indian Air Force. So these are the equivalent ranks in the services of Indian Navy and Indian Armed Forces, that these are ranks of 5-star officers, and therefore a Field Marshal is a level above the level of General, who in India acts as the Chief of Army Staff, right? So this is what a Field Marshal is. Now in this regard, let us understand how the ranks of Field Marshal are given. Now these are generally given to the generals for ceremonial reasons and even during their resolute and quite definitive leadership that they displayed during the wartime period. For example, India's first Field Marshal was General Sam Manekshaw, who effectively led India successfully in its war with Pakistan during the 1971 conflict that resulted into liberation of Bangladesh. So he was extended to the rank of Field Marshal in 1973, and this highlights his leadership during the 1971 war. Similarly, India's first general, that is General K.M. Cariappa, was given the rank of Field Marshal later as compared to General Sam Manekshaw in the year 1986. Similarly, other instances of 5-star officers in India was one Marshal of Air Force, Arjun Singh, who was elevated to the rank of Marshal of the Air Force in the year 2002, and he played a very key role in the India's first war with Pakistan during the 1978-48 period, right? So these three people were given the ranks of 5 stars in India, and General Sam Manekshaw and General Cariappa, they were elevated to the rank of Field Marshal. So effectively, India has had till now 2 Field Marshals, right? Now they are given obviously for their leadership or for ceremonial purposes, especially for their leadership during the war period. So these are the Field Marshals in India. Now let us talk about what are the benefits or what are the privileges that the rank of Field Marshal has actually provided. First of all, what you need to understand that a Field Marshal is considered to be on active list until his death, right? But what you need to understand that Field Marshal is not a official position, it is rather a ceremonial position, because Field Marshal, they do not hold any office in their official capacity beyond their rate of retirement from their armed forces, and therefore he is entitled to wear his uniform at any event if he deems fit. So suppose if a Field Marshal is given the rank of Field Marshal during their active duty, he will continue to serve in the Indian Armed Forces till the date he gets retired, and after that he continues to be a Field Marshal without any official capacity till the time of his death, right? Now, while being Field Marshal, the officer wears a special badge of the rank of Field Marshal. Similarly, his car also displays the 5-star rank that he holds. And as per the tradition, he also salutes with a special Field Marshal's baton, which is raised to the levels of forehead. Now, this is different as compared to the other salutes done by the Indian military, because you understand, Indian military officials, they salute each other by raising their hand to their forehead level, but not Field Marshal. He will raise the baton at the level of forehead, showing his salute. Now, I don't know how many of you have watched the movie starring Vicky Kaushal, where he played the role of General Sam Manekshaw. So you'll watch in that movie also, Vicky Kaushal raised his hand with baton to the rank of their forehead to salute the other military officers, right? So these are the privileges and rights that are given to Field Marshal. What you need to remember, this is not an official post, rather this is a ceremonial post which only enables the person to serve in the military till the date of its retirement, and after that they continue to be Field Marshal until their death. Understood? Now let us understand how Asim Munir's elevation to the rank of Field Marshal is a cause of worry for India and Pakistan. Why is it a cause of worry? Because according to Ramnathan Kumar, who was head of Pakistan desk at the Research and Analysis Wing, which is India's external intelligence agency, he held that Munir is Pakistan's first Mullah General. Why was he termed as Mullah General? Because Asim Munir, as against the other military officers, he mollycoddles quite closely with the radical sections of Islam in Pakistan and in other countries. Because if you watch the speeches given by General Munir, you'll see him navigate quite effectively between using English, Urdu as well as Arabic, and he frequently cites Arabic instances or scriptures from Quran to make his point. Now this would have been quite common for a politician, but this is very unusual for a military officer, right? Because military officer usually talks not about politics but about military and defense related issues, right? But when a person who is called as a Mullah General, who mollycoddles quite closely with the radical sect of Islam, elevating that person to a supreme post in the Pakistani armed forces, it is a cause of worry, because this will shift the Pakistan's intention from its ongoing issue towards a more radical approach, which might be detrimental to India's interest, right? Similarly, Asim Munir, he will continue to remain the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistani Army till the scheduled date of its retirement, right? Now, earlier, he was scheduled to be retired on November 2024, but a law was passed by Pakistan which extended the tenures of service chiefs of Army, Air Force and Navy by additional 3 years, right? So, earlier it was 3 years. It was extended to 5 years. So now General Munir will retire, or is due to retire, only in 2027. So he will continue to remain the head of Pakistani Army up till 2027, and he will continue to be Field Marshal, which is a very important figure in the Pakistan for or until his death, right? Now let us understand how his elevation, first of all, it will impact Pakistan, right? Now you understand Pakistan's economic state is not very good. It is plagued with high levels of unemployment. The levels of inflation are backbreaking. Similarly, the growth of Pakistan's GDP is actually not increasing, rather it is decreasing. So much so that at the levels of 2027, the Pakistan's GDP has not increased from 2027 till now, that is 2025. Now this is the core issue which is plaguing Pakistan. So you can understand, for any normal country, their issues or what their priority should be to address these kind of issues, right? But Pakistan is not a normal country. It is essentially a military dictatorship under the garb of a democratic setup, right? Now Pakistan usually uses these kind of excuse like an external enemy for them, which is India, to consolidate the domestic support, right? And this is essential for a society which is having these kind of issues which normally would actually disturb a society. So Pakistan's military leadership often uses external tensions, particularly with India, to consolidate domestic support. And especially when this elevation comes at a time, this is projecting a unified and powerful image of Pakistan, which essentially is a propaganda value. It is not truth, because in essence, we understood Pakistan's armed forces got a severe beating during the Operation Sindoor, and this should be the priority of Pakistan, to address these issues, not to deal with enemies, which under their impression is India, right? Also, what is the world's approach towards Pakistan? at the outset you'll think that Pakistan is a democratic setup which has a prime minister, right? But in reality we all know that it is actually the Pakistani army, not the Pakistani government, which is at the charge of affairs, right? So essentially this is also moved by Pakistani army to assert its military dominance, saying and signaling to the world that not the elected government but us, that is Pakistani army, it is at the charge, or it is the real center of power in Pakistan. Similarly, to shift the attention away from these issues, the Pakistani army can also use this move to embolden a more aggressive posture, particularly on regions like Kashmir and also in Afghanistan, and also promoting cross-border skirmishes with India. Why they are doing it? Because obviously they don't have the ability to address these issues, and naturally they'll create an artificial tension with India to consolidate domestic support for Pakistani armed forces, right? So this is why it will have a negative implication on Pakistan. Now let us understand how this elevation of General Munir will affect India. Now you understand India's strategic equations as well as diplomatic engagements, they already have considered that it is the Pakistani army which is in charge of Pakistan's polity as well as society, not their elected government. But now this move actually makes it more explicit, and this is a cause of worry. Why? Because I've already told you Pakistan is facing these kind of issues in addition to its issues relating to balance of payment crisis, and to address these issues Pakistan has approached intergovernmental bodies like IMF, like World Bank, to give them emergency loans which will help Pakistan economy go back to normal, right? But you understand these multilateral bodies will not extend loans to a military dictatorship. That is why Pakistan is perpetrating or perpetuating the image that it is essentially a democratic country with an elected prime minister. Now this is a key issue, especially in case of India, because India has always made it more explicit to the other countries and also to the multilateral bodies that it is not the elected government, rather Pakistani military you're supporting by giving the loans. So this is why it makes India stand more explicit, and it makes India stand more validated. Similarly, as Pakistani military will be at the charge of affairs, it might also need that India may face increased provocations of ceasefire violations at the LOC, that is in Jammu and Kashmir region. Similarly, India might even witness more terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir region, and also a sharper rhetoric from Pakistani side in the international forum, which will try to portray the image of Pakistan not as a perpetrator of terrorism, rather a victim of terrorism, which we all know is incorrect and a falsehood, right? So in that case, India needs to be prepared for these kind of instances, because Pakistani army may take adventurism to subvert the other issues that is plaguing the Pakistan economy. Similarly, the Pakistani army may also adopt a very hardline security doctrine which automatically plagues Pakistani army against Indian establishment. Now in that case, in case India wants to conduct back channel diplomacy or want to conduct a confidence building measures so as to cool down the temperatures in the LOC region, it might be more difficult, especially when the civilian leadership is not at actual control. So from India's consideration, what we want is a civilian leadership in Pakistan to prevail and gain influence, and not the Pakistani army, right? So obviously you'll see from the India's interaction with Pakistan even during the Operation Sindoor that India did not deal with ceasefire with the Pakistani government, rather it was the DGMO level officers of both of the armies that agreed to hold a ceasefire in the LOC region after Operation Sindoor. So this actually states that India's stand is vindicated, that it is the Pakistani army, not the Pakistani civilian government which is at control, and therefore elevating to an officer to the rank of Field Marshal, especially that officer who has a religious inclination, who holds more importance to the radical concept of Islam, it will make things somewhat difficult for India in terms of violations of ceasefire at LOC, in terms of more terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir and other regions of India. Therefore, India needs to be prepared. Understood? So this is all from my side for today's discussion. I'll leave our today's session with this particular question that you need to solve. This is question regarding the rank of Field Marshal in India. So what do you think of this question? Do let me know the correct answer in the comment section, and the ones who will be answering the questions correctly, I will give your answers a like so you'll understand whether you have answered this question correctly. Now if you want to download this particular notes, these will be available on my Telegram channel that is called as ATS Live. So what you can do to register for this Telegram channel, go and search the words ATS Live in Telegram. You'll find the channel. Subscribe to it if you still haven't. And if you still are not able to find the channel, you have an option to scan this QR code. This will take you directly to my channel. Okay. So this is all from my side for today. I'll see you again. Please have a very good night. Okay.